at number 4 collectively on our list is Kaleb Johnson from Iowa. If you want a zone running back, this is your guy right here. Kaleb Johnson is phenomenal in his zone scheme, especially. Terrific athlete at 6 feet tall, 225 pounds, 98th percentile in our GAS score. Massive breakout this past season. He had 1,060 yards after contact, the 5th most in college football. 1,535 rushing yards, you see right there, 6th most in college football. He glides away from defenders. He is so smooth in his runs. Everything is in one motion for him. You rarely ever see him completely stop his feet or even slow down on his runs. Didn't fumble once on 262 touches this year. Really good vision, especially on zone runs. 85.2 grade on gap runs as well, even though I think he should be more in a zone scheme. He did prove he could do well in a gap scheme as well. Weaknesses, only 1 year of elite production. I mean, there are many guys on this list, even guys right behind him on this list, that have multiple years of elite production. Only one really, truly great year for Kaleb Johnson. He's been just okay as a receiver. Now, again, the quarterback situation in Iowa, not that great, but he only had 190 yards this past season, and also not much of a pass blocker either. 39.6 pass blocking grade this past season. He played like one of the best backs in America, has the size and athletic traits to bet somewhere on day 2. I think he's best in his zone-heavy scheme, but he's proven to be effective on gap runs as well. I think his biggest drawback for me, at least right now, is his work on passing downs, but I think in a zone-heavy scheme, Dawn, this guy could be your number 1 back easily.
Yeah, the passing down stuff, I hate to put it like this because we want to be as detailed as possible, but just, look, it's Iowa.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
I just cannot, I can't sit here and criticize Kaleb Johnson for a lack of receiving production or even pass protection when we've known for years they're not too sure what they're doing in the passing game in Iowa anyway. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about him as a runner. Somebody who runs one of those Kyle Shanahan outside zone schemes is going to take this guy, and they're going to love him. I don't know if it'll be Minnesota in the second round, who could really use a back. We don't know their running back situation right now. I don't know if it could be Kyle Shanahan himself and San Fran for the fun of it, if it's Miami, if it's Clint Kubiak going to Seattle, even though they already have 2 pretty good backs. Somebody who runs that type of offense is going to have, may even have Johnson higher on their board than we both have him at number 4.
Doesn't he give you like Dalvin Cook vibes a little bit sometimes out there?
Right,
yeah.
And which is why, again, Minnesota is like the first.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, because he does. Too. He runs a little high. He's got great vision in that one-cut style, right? Blazing speed. I mean, just like, to be honest with you, everything we just talked about with Travion Henderson, if he was a bell cow, he would be Kaleb Johnson. Yeah. That's where we're at, because he just, especially running at Iowa where we see so many slower power backs, he gets out there and you're like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, he's gliding.
He's gliding when he hits that crease past the second level. Just walk to the sideline, right? And I think that's the type of guy that you have. He is not fun at all to tackle when he hits that full speed, and he can hit it quick. You get 3 steps. He gets 3 free steps, you have a real problem, right? And I think there's another guy on this list I'm going to talk about like that too, but I think the one-cut ability, and I even think he's got good vision at the second level, right? Because there's a lot of backs who can have great, that outside zone vision that we're talking about, one-cut, get in the hole, but then it's what to do when you start layering it. Start layering that vision, start layering those cuts, and then you really create for yourself in the open field at the second level. Kaleb Johnson can do that. So I do think there's an element where he probably needs to go to one of those systems. I think he should be a prime target for any team that runs that style. I keep saying it, if he ever got to the Minnesota Vikings somehow, some way, and I'll tell you what better guy to help J.J. McCarthy in what's probably going to be his first year starting, right? I mean, we know Kevin O'Connell wants to run the ball. I think somebody, and there are other coaches who obviously would go, hey, this guy's really talented. We could probably get him to do something. But as far as right now, if you talked about get him in one of those systems, he may be a dark horse to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Because he just knows how to do it. And they really leaned into it at Iowa this year, and that's why you saw him shine. And then again, the home run ability, when you've got that, like he might go to the combine and run a 4.3.
Yeah.
That might be a 4.3 guy as well. And you talk about, again, if Henderson was a bell cow, he'd be Kaleb Johnson. And Johnson, I think there's a lot even left for him to grow. I don't think he's all that creative one-on-one when it comes to breaking tackles. He relies on his speed a lot. And you mentioned the receiving ability. I really have no idea. I couldn't even. If somebody asked me, how good is Kaleb Johnson catching the ball? I don't know. How good is Iowa throwing the ball? That's where it's It's kind of a joke, but it kind of isn't, because to me, we have no idea. So evaluating him as a runner, he's one of the best pure runners in this class.
And the fact that he's so good in open space, it's almost like, dude, all you got to do is have good enough hands to at least catch the football, and then we know what you could do in the open field.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I'm sure there is a ceiling there as a receiver that he has just not shown yet because of where he's playing at. But I think, like I said, he's so freaking good in the open field that, like, I could see him being a very effective receiving back in the NFL.
I just love the way his eyes are always up at the second and third level to make that next cut to get himself into that space. I think it absolutely can work. And again, do they all have to be as dynamic a route runner as Christian McCaffrey? No, they don't all have to be that. If he can be functional out there and just eat up space where they can create it for him, you got a dynamic football.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.